Yes, it has been a while, folks, and welcome to another episode of Stop Being So Stupid, where we look at the unfortunate souls who weren't exactly blessed with a functioning noggin who can't help but act like wankers in our comments section. So let's start off nice and easy, shall we? This is from the Bill Burr one I did a while ago, by the way, with that classless one he married. And yes, I would like to use other phrases aside from classless, but you know, this is YouTube and not a zoo, which should give you an indication of where I would like to go with that joke. But anyway, she's just flipping on the camera, right? It was at a UFC fight. This is no different than someone flipping off the camera from the crowd on WCW or something. Unfortunately, Trump supporters are defined by their victimhood. You're either the victim of fat fingers or slow-wittedness the way you spell, kid. Any perceived slight against Trump is also against them. That's how weak they are. Pretty sure slight has no E in it either, by the way. You see my comment there? Does anyone remember a time when trolling was witty, where you would troll with a sense of wit or humor, and not just say the dumbest thing to appeal to the lowest common denominator, and then also spelling correctly whilst you're at it? Do you just click on the video already mostly cocked, hear 5 seconds of my voice and go, "Oh god, logic, common sense, and spurg your stupid all over my comment section, do you? Heaven's sakes. Oh, before we go any further, props have to go out to this madman who, I swear, watched that 25-minute Ackman video I did and paused after everything I said and wrote a comment. Over 1,500 words. That is a level of lunacy that is borderline respectable. Next one on the same video. Your argument against their comparisons with SJW Freakout is misguided at best. The comparison are completely warranted. The comparison is completely warranted. Is singular, are is plural. For fuck's sakes. This was in reference to the gamers who compared Az's Freakout to the Anita Sarkeesian types, by the way. And no, it isn't, and you're wrong. In fact, you said it yourself that it's like comparing the Allies and the Nazis. These are two sides of the same coin. No, they are not, you moron. Two sides of the same coin would be the Nazis and the Communists, because they're both authoritarian regimes. You said what matters is why they fight, but that is nowhere in their argument, thus negating nothing. Yes, and the reason was then provided by me, because Neanderthal plebs like you haven't got two functioning neurons to rub together. One side is trying to force its ideology into something, the Nazis or the Soviets expanding fascism or communism, and the other side wants to prohibit this force from expanding. One side is offensive, the other side is defensive, but they both fight. Do you understand the comparisons now? Because if you don't, you're just stupid. Straw man. Oh look, it's just some guy's favorite phrase. I hate when people use words and they clearly don't know what it means. Let's look up straw man, alright? Oversimplifying it, focusing on just one part of the opposing argument, taking it out of context, presenting a fringe or extreme version of an opposing argument as the mainstream version of it. I don't know about all of you, but from that, I would say calling as SJW-like is quite the straw man then, wouldn't you agree? Now bear in mind, if you disagree, you'd be wrong. And hell, I didn't do any of that. I offered an elaboration and a comparison, and a very good one, I might add. Alas, it seems to have gone over the head of some people's empty noggins. They are comparing the two because both are having highly passionate reactions, as you pointed out. Yes, and that would be the oversimplification and focusing on just one part of the argument. The conduct. You twat. Over something that most would consider meaningless, even ones that agree with them. Not really. The ones who couldn't understand the justification for the outburst are the nitwitted morons with a subpar bucket IQ. It is why I explained it very simply using the virus example, because I'm a smarty pants. More specifically, they are arguing this is so badly written, they are the comparable because they are both using a word and applying it in unjustified situations. I pray English is not your mother tongue, because half of what you just said I can't even understand. Just because you happen to agree with one side doesn't mean they are less comparable. Actually, it does. I never even said whether or not I even agree with Az. This is not whether or not I'm in agreement with one side or the other. My job was to explain the reasoning for the outburst. Very well, I might add. Though apparently not adequately enough for some gammy gremlins. If you disagree that their use of the word is unjustified, thus making it not comparable, you would have to prove that head-on. I did. Apparently head-on information doesn't quite pierce your skull, though. But to the people making the point, it is, and thus their comparison is valid. Only sound if the use case truly is unjustified. Am I the only one confused as to the point of this person's argument even? It just comes off like the ramblings of someone trying to sound smart rather than saying something, well, frankly coherent, let alone something smart. Word of advice here for you, Junior. You'll come across far more intelligent using simple means to illustrate a complex point, rather than attempting to flex a dexterous vocabulary through wanking off of several pages of an aging dictionary. All in all, you are making shit up and then arguing against it. Pal, between the two of us, the only party guilty here of making shit up is you. Hell, I will bet most of my comment section is going to be mocking you because they'll think the same thing as I do. You're a rambling mess. Then acting like you're better than everyone. No, just you. Because you can repeat fancy words you looked up online and threw in a script. Yeah, because that's literally how people improve their vocabulary, learn and use. Congratulations, maybe try doing that yourself. Though if you're an adequate use of the word strawman is anything to go by, I would suggest you learn the word definition first. I mean, for heaven's sake, the video in question has over 1,200 comments. The only one who's accusing me of strawmanning is you. Now, I'm not one to really believe in the wisdom of crowds and all that, but considering your application of the word, a moment of self-reflection might be a wise move, as would be shutting the hell up. As the saying goes, 'tis better to be thought of a fool than speaking and removing all doubt. Or maybe even ChatGPT. That is projection is what that is. Although I've seen what AI can produce, and it would be an insult to AI to suggest that this response was cranked out by a machine. I think this fixation on pronouns is bullshit. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, what gave it away? We can say whatever what was, and society shouldn't dictate how we say it. My God, this man's spelling is atrocious. Yeah, explain that to Nexus mods who dictated that removing the mod is not being inclusive. Whatever the hell that means. But you suck at debate, and you suck at spelling, and propagandizing as you call it. I feel I can stop here. Any more kicking in the dead horse is turning to glue. Games aren't just a form of escapism for people who look like you. They should be. I'm not familiar with the source video, but I assume you put that in there. Correct me if this isn't the case. My goodness, the stupidity is never ending with this one. Let me explain something to you here, kid. If you are unsure of something and assume, you look even stupider when you're building on that assumption when it turns out to be false. Hell, you even wrote there, correct me if this isn't the case. Again, you would be wise to wait for the correction and not build off the assumption. But I get the impression you're more of a shoot first and ask questions later sort of fellow. Are you inferring that games should only be available to a certain race of people? Because if you are, that is quite racist in the most pure and literal sense of the word. Dear God, here is the bit in question.
Because games aren't just a form of escapism for people who look like you. They are a form of escapism for everyone.
Yeah, that's a joke designed to bait imbeciles like you. Congratulations. I don't even know how the hell you took that seriously, and your interpretation made it sound draconian. He said, for people who look like you. I meant the designer had a market in mind for a certain demographic. Your interpretation, on the other hand, should only be made available for a certain race of people. That implies some form of purchasing segregation. And you accuse me of strawmanning, fucking hell. I don't know about you, and please keep it that way, but I rather like people having the freedom to showcase their discrimination and prejudice. I'm a free marketeer. If someone wants to make art or entertainment for a specific demographic in mind, let them. Let the market decide whether or not it's a success or failure. Heaven's sakes, we make products along gender lines. Nothing prohibits the opposite sex from buying or using them, so why should this be any different? Does anyone remember when the word racist meant something? I mean, you all know me. I think racism has never existed. It's a stupid phrase and it doesn't make any sense. But I recall it meaning some form of superiority. Making something for a certain demographic in mind is not in any way racist. I mean, you have black hair care products, for heaven's sakes. Is that racist? It is only for one race, after all. That race has a specific trait. Is the person or company making the product catering to them, or is that exploitation? You're making a product for money catering to a certain demographic. What is the difference here exactly? The moral judgment of the application of the product? And yes, feel free to ponder that one for a while. It is an interesting perspective. Yes, of course, I don't mean this as a throwaway insult like racists are evil. Except you definitely use it in a disparaging manner when you were throwing it in my direction. I would go on to claim this racist belief is immoral and can't stand up with a consistent value system. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about your value system, pal, and that's the point. If the one system isn't forcing itself upon the other, you will have disorder and chaos. Basically, you should reread all of your philosophy texts you claim to love because your value system is shit. Hey, you guys in the comment section, this might be a bit unfair seeing as I've got hundreds of hours online and you can hear my perspectives pretty easily and this one only has one comment. But hey, they did open their yappy gob and dispense this pile of ass. Whose worldview would you rather live in? Mine or theirs? If you aren't claiming this and put it up to state something like, I should be able to play a game looking like myself, or some other negation. Or you could wait until I clarify your assumption instead of writing this much stupidity and making an ass out of yourself. Did you ever think of that? No, I suspect not. Then you are completely missing this content creator's point. I guess Strawman would describe it best. There's that word that he keeps misusing. And by the way, it's otherwise. You are completely missing the content creator's point. Just because I suspect English is not your mother tongue. Which is no excuse, mind you, it's not mine either, and I'm rather proficient at it. Of course, you might be talking about some point before, he said, because... But then show the fucking clip. Man, this level of drunk is bordering on a crime scene. What kind of video is this? Just ramblings of a madman? No, that video was rather well done with plenty of good points. This video, however, on the other hand, definitely did feature the ramblings of a madman, a rather stunted one at that. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.